stick around. That's all I'm saying. Don't make you should stick around. If you feel it, soon as I ride to the door, it's like I'm on stage. It's like I'm on tour. I know you brought some friends, you can use one more. Something's gonna say no. Something's gonna say no. When you come in, something's gonna say no. Don't waste no time to say
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Taylor, y'all. We made it to another Friday, TGIF and all that. Today we are going to get in a conversation about technology. Just a quick little update, nothing crazy, nothing wild. I mean, actually there's a few things that are pretty wild, not gonna lie. But let me find us on Facebook. While y'all join in, it truly is a great Friday for me. I'm hoping the same is true for you all. And yeah, we can get into this hot topics because I know there's a lot of hot topics. It's just me, just your boy today. I mean, yeah, and that's just fine. But I'm making sure to keep up with your comments. I don't know. I might check in with Instagram midway through today. We shall see. Something different, something new. But we got a lot of hot topics to cover. Got a lot to talk about. This week has been quite a week. Goodness gracious, and like, I just, yeah, we'll all learn together. But thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for keeping up. Again, our topic of conversation is going to be technology this week. If anyone is a pro in this area, perhaps, or just maybe super well versed in the tech area, feel free to comment and let me know how you feel about today's episode, and whatever else you'd like to say. Let's have a little chat because this season is the season of conversation, as I previously stated. And you may have noticed that I have not been doing games like I normally do on Tea with Taylor, but that is going to come back for the next season. Maybe somewhere in this season we'll play a few games as well, just a nice little icebreaker. But there is going to be a game night coming as well, another live game night, so look out for that. Taylor's Game Night's coming soon. The first one was super successful. We raised over $500 for charity. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing it. So yeah, soon to come, another game night. First and foremost, on the hot topics today, and I had to talk about this. It's like I don't know. I talked about it previously on Tea with Taylor, but it's iconic. Miss Viola Davis is starring in this new movie called Woman King, and it's based off of some true events, I believe. And you guys, let me know if I'm wrong about that. But she's going to be portraying one of these black warrior women, and following their tribe and like their struggle, and it looks really good. It's giving Wakanda vibes, and I'm here for it. I don't know, I like it so far, and the trailer is so powerful. And we know Miss Viola Davis is bar none one of the best actresses of our time, and she's gonna give us snot crying and everything, I'm sure, with this role. It's gonna give us drama. It's gonna give us history. I'm here for it. I'm excited to see see Woman King. So I'm gonna talk about it. I'll keep y'all abreast when I watch it. If you're not all watching with me. Moving forward, another iconic movie of our time, or of my time maybe, is Scary Movie. Actually, reaching it premiered 22 years ago, reaching a milestone. Scary Movie. Scary Movie was one of the first inappropriate, so to speak, movies that I ever saw. Now I'll never forget it. It's hilarious. But yeah, introduced Brenda. We don't talk about Brenda in the House of Neptune. It's like with Bruno, we don't talk about Brenda. But introduced these characters that we followed for 4 or 5 I don't know how many scary movies there are, to be honest, because I stopped watching after the second one because that was the first and second one were the best. I mean, they had moments in the other ones, but they were like, eh. So, just wanted to mention Scary Movie reaching a 22-year-old milestone. If that doesn't make you feel old, then stay tuned. I'll get there. Another show that I wanted to mention that actually did something, and I'm gonna chime. I want you guys to chime in on this one, but they did something that was considered very different for a show of this magnitude. But the show I'm speaking about is Friends. And I've had this conversation with the House of Neptune. I've had this conversation with a few of my friends in real life. But the show Friends, it's been long criticized for a few things. But one of the many things is that it lacked diversity as far as the cast and, in real life meeting, friends and people around New York. Seemed very lacking in diversity. And so what happened recently, I believe last week, was the creator of Friends, what's their name? I have it in here somewhere, issued a $4 million apology, quoting, "I'm embarrassed by the truth to the allegations of there being no diversity in the show Friends. And for a show that has reached such a pinnacle or such I don't know, so it has such a huge stance in what's the word I'm looking for? It has a huge stance in, our lives. But you know what the word will come to me soon. But if the creator, the co-producer Marta Kaufman, there it is, had said, "I'm embarrassed," because of these allegations, because the truth that rings true through the allegations about Friends. I don't know about y'all, but when I speak about Friends a little bit, most people immediately say, well, it was a rip off of the better black and brown shows around the same time period that were kind of showcasing friendship and, things along those lines. But I want to ask you guys, because I know that I'm super interested in this argument actually. What was better in your opinion out of those shows? And if you ask me, those three shows there are three shows that stood out as that were around the same time as Friends. It was Girlfriends, it was Living Single, and it was A Different World. And let me tell, everyone has their favorite, but like those three shows were dominating. And for black women and for black and brown folks to have such representation on TV at that time was a huge deal. Even now, unfortunately, it's still a huge deal because it's not as showcased as we would like it to be. But those shows were a really big deal, especially like the things that they showed in A Different World and in Living Single. If you ask me, I think Living Single was one of my favorites. Queen Latifah did it for me. All the characters there, just Living Single was everything. But Girlfriends in A Different World, they did the same thing, so to speak, on different ways and different levels. And I was here for it. I was so here for it. I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments which one y'all thought made a bigger impact, which one you liked better. Because Girlfriends, Living Single, Different World. Honestly, I think if they reached the stardom and the monumental placement that Friends has reached to this point, honestly, those shows deserve to be in that place. But if they had reached that popularity, we would be still talking about it as much as we talk about Friends, if not more. But yeah, y'all let me know which one is your favorite. Moving on a little bit, and your boy is co-hosting Drag Race tonight at the Alley Cat. If you're local, make sure you join me for that. It's gonna be a moment, so we might have to cut it a little bit short today, but don't worry, you're getting a full dose of Taylor. And yeah, so moving on. Alright, I just realized, I was like, oh yeah, let me just mention that real quick. Thank you guys for watching. I see your names popping up there. Moving forward, so there is this giant flying luxury hotel that is being introduced. It's giving very much like WALL-E meets like Up vibes. Like, I don't know if you guys are Disney kids like I am, but it's giving me very WALL-E vibes. It's a little scary, but like cute. Okay, so what it is apparently it's this huge, and I couldn't even find the size of this aircraft, but it's a huge hybrid between a plane and a hotel. They're calling it a luxury flying hotel. And I don't even know if they have a name for it just yet, but it's also boasting that it can fly and stay in the air for years without having to come down. It's giving me very, very WALL-E vibes. I don't know if you guys have seen WALL-E, but like, yeah, it's a little scary. We're talking about technology today, so I'm going to applaud the advancements in technology. But it boasts a gym and a swimming pool. It is nuclear powered, and the engine is the lithium batteries, I believe. No, sorry, that's for later. No, but it's nuclear powered, and it can hold up to 5,000 passengers. What? It's a huge ship, a huge aircraft. I will post it to the Tia Taylor Instagram after the broadcast, as I do, and you will have to see this craziness. It looks kind of cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie. It looks pretty. I mean, I would take a trip, but it's boasting being able to fly for years, which kind of brings, like I said, it's giving WALL-E vibes, and like it kind of brings me to question, like, is this the new space travel? Because, like, again, very much WALL-E. I don't want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but they kind of ended up traveling into space and staying there forever and without a plan, and humanity suffered for it in the long run. And now we have this race to space with Jeff Bezos and the other billionaire, and it kind of, I don't know, it kind of raised the question for me, like, is this what's going on here? We're trying to, and again, it will actually have to stop every so often to pick up people for the passage, and it said that it would be scheduled to stop every few months, I believe, and even boasting that it'd be able to be repaired without having to stop. Yeah, so I don't know. This look, keep an eye out for this. I'm gonna post it later. You'll see. I was like, I'm a little worried, but also I'm intrigued. Another thing this week, and we're gonna get into some of the not so fun ones from this week. So, cheers, gird your loins. I like to do the fun ones first, as you know, and get into the important stuff just a little bit. But singer, entertainer R. Kelly, sentenced to 30 years for sex trafficking. That also happened last week, I want to say. Long story short, we kind of all saw this coming. We know what was going on under behind closed doors, and we kind of got exposed to that a little bit with the Gayle. When R. Kelly was interviewed by, oh gosh, Gail's last name is slipping. Well, you guys let me know. But you must have seen the interview where he kind of exposed himself a little bit, and after a few facts had been revealed from some of the victims of the said sex trafficking. Wow, said sex trafficking. Say that 3 times fast. Dare you. No, but he's been sentenced to 30 years, and honestly, I think kind of that's a little bit of a break because of who he is, because I've seen more severe judgments being handed down for something as severe as sex trafficking, even for sex trafficking, which is usually followed by other charges. But yeah, so just to give you an update on that case, R. Kelly is serving 30 years. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like they still went a little bit easy on him, just a little bit because of who he is. Another thing that I really want to get out and for our hot topics, a few things about human rights and social justice, because those are 2 things that I stand for 100% all the time, 7 days a week. So Tesla, the company Tesla, we all know who owns that. Is being sued again. This is not the first time we've heard about Tesla being sued, and actually for a similar reason, by 15 of their black employees. And I think they were targeting about 46 employees from Tesla or some such number. But these 15 black employees are suing Tesla for alleged racism and harassment. And again, not the first time we've heard Tesla being sued either. And so it's very interesting to me. Justice for Aaliyah, Jacqueline Nelson says, yeah, no, seriously. But that was the first really huge exposing factor to what was going on with R. Kelly, to be honest. So, and we just kind of didn't even pay attention, girl. All the 90s, it was a lot going on with these men. Anyways, Tesla, again, being sued for alleged racism and harassment. Not even the first case of this within the Tesla community. And so we have to kind of draw an eye and kind of focus on what is actually happening. And a lot of the people involved in this case and who have worked at Tesla, the black and brown people who work at Tesla, have kind of came to their defense as well to say it is not the greatest working place. They have felt targeted. There has been incidents where a few of the 15 people in this case have been attacked physically or verbally, having to work on a daily basis with seeing swastikas and things of that nature being sprayed on the walls in the bathroom. And it's just a wild, wild, wild situation going on at Tesla. And I was gooped and gagged, like, to hear that this is actually happening. And company that's supposed to be progressive and supposed to be moving us forward, allegedly dealing with racism and harassment on a daily basis. That and no workplace is that okay. But yeah, it just surprised me a little bit, to say the least. So hopefully we hear more about this. It's going to keep coming, and I'll keep you guys abreast again, posting that on the Instagram. But it's pretty sad to hear. Unfortunately, we don't really know everything until we see behind the scenes, and that's kind of something that's been repeated, a theme with a lot of different workplaces. It's even thinking about the most recent thing with Amazon and how they've been treated there, certain workers allegedly. I actually have not heard an update on the cases of people who have been trying to file suit with Amazon. So if you guys have, let me know. I would love to hear a little update on that story, actually. This one was very reminiscent of it, and it kind of, I couldn't not talk about it, so here we are. But this one, y'all, this is a real hot topic, y'all. And it's been spreading like wildfire, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why it's been so talked about. But I was silent. I was silent when it first started happening, and I said something, and I will repeat what I said about it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about yet, you will. Senator Tiara Mack, okay? Listen, if you don't know who Tiara Mack is, then you should follow them for their work. Follow them for what they do. They've been putting down the footwork for so many different things and so much change to happen in the political forefront. But what we're talking about for Miss Tiara Mack and what's been spread and what the media has clutched onto is Miss Tiara Mack twerking for votes. And I could say a lot about this, but I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. But like I said, and if you haven't seen it, go back and you can see on my social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever you like. I said the same thing. This woman, this queer black woman who is a sitting senator, has done so much in this position in such a short period of time, and what we should be focusing on is her body of work. Yet, again, we're focusing on her body and what she chooses to do with her spare time. Don't get me wrong. I understand the argument of certain people saying, hold yourself to a different decorum or, a higher standard as a politician or as a person with a platform. And that's all good and dandy, but also, why are we demonizing this woman for having a life instead of praising her for the efforts that she's making in this field? And that's where I had the problem, because you cannot sit here and demonize her for doing something that she would normally do and posting it for a cause at that. I've seen other politicians and other people and other former social media influencers, and you know who I'm talking about, the Cheeto Dust Man, post things completely left, completely wild and out of pocket without a cause. And yet, when we have someone like Tiara Mack who's moving mountains in her field and doing things that, you know, haven't been done before, don't get me wrong, twerking for votes. I mean, is it a planned notion? No. But when she posted about it and when she came back, and listen, clap that queen, because she came back hard too. But it's honestly, I just feel like we are blowing it out of proportion a little bit, and it's kind of funny to me to see the extent that people will go to try to tell someone their job description or to try to control a certain person, or especially with queer black folks, especially with you know, any person who has dealt with you know, any kind of hardship, again, talking about in the workplace, any kind of feeling they need to conform, and like, you know, any kind of anxiety related to those things, you know how serious this can be. And so it really struck a chord with me that I really had to say something. That, like, you know what, I'm gonna let y'all sound off about it because I'm sure you've seen it at this point. But yeah, Tiara Mack, keep doing what you're doing, girl. You know, we are honestly here for you and everything you're doing. As far as if you ask me, I'm gonna speak for me. Also, there are other things that we really should be focusing on in this economy and in this state of the world. We're focusing on someone who's trying to make a difference and a positive effort, someone who is minding their own business, for lack of better expression here. And don't get me wrong, and you looked great too, Tiara, so keep doing what you're doing. But we can be focusing on so many other things, like this January 6th committee, which is a dollar short and a day too late, if you ask me. I don't know why that former social media influencer is not facing charges yet, but I'm hoping with the development of this January 6th committee, as long as it's taking, that he will face charges. And I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully, that we could be focusing on gun violence, which is playing a huge role in our economy right now, and one of the problems that we have solely needed to deal with for decades in the U.S. We could be focusing on how the Japanese Prime Minister was just assassinated, another violent gun crime. But not even just that, but in Japan, gun violence has been all but, so to speak, all but eliminated until this incident. And not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's kind of like a huge eye-opener for me, and maybe for you all, to see that gun violence is reaching a pinnacle to a point where it's spreading somewhere where it had been previously not a problem, like Japan. And the reasoning behind why the Japanese Prime Minister would be assassinated is something that I'm very curious to know a lot more about as well. And so that's also a developing story. So I'm going to stick with that a little bit too, because the distractions throughout the media, I see you. I see you. So, and while we're talking about gun violence, unfortunately, over the 4th of July weekend, we had a huge incident in Illinois where there was a parade shooting. I know we've all heard about this. It's been everywhere, unfortunately. Every news station has been covering it. I've been inundated with a lot of these stories, seeing it at work, seeing it at home, and it is a big deal. It is a huge deal because we are, again, tackling or attempting to tackle gun violence. So this is a big problem too, that we've been having, like I said, for decades. And it seemed that this kid that was responsible for the shooting actually purchased the gun legally. Legally purchased it and emptied, what was it? Emptied 230 round magazines into a parade, into a 4th of July celebration in Chicago, Illinois, if you did not know that. And it's heartbreaking for one. 7 people were found dead. 46 people were wounded. This was a premeditated attack. and I don't want to mention the kid's name because in true fashion we're not going to we're not going to give them any more time and more attention than they already have. But this kid was also someone was telling me earlier actually that this kid was troubled in a lot of different ways, and I hadn't able to get that far in the article, but I did see that he was turned down at mass. He had some issues, I believe, at home, something along those lines. But again, another developing story that I'm going to stick with. But it's really sad, and again, we need to kind of figure out where we're going with gun policies and things of that nature for this country, because it is literally killing us. And then it's becoming more of a norm. It's kind of like desensitized in a bit, and something to be so horrible to be desensitized to us is mind-blowing. I can't even imagine, like, going about my day. You know what, I can, because it's happening so much now. Going about your day and just living your life being so inundated with these mass shootings and this gun violence and things of that nature, and just, trying to be okay. It gets really, really, really hard to kind of be okay, or to continue on the way, you want to continue on in life when these things are constantly happening, and it doesn't feel like we're coming up with solutions as fast as we're coming up with the problems. And so we can talk about it all we want. Wish thoughts and prayers that, to the family, as we say, as we do. But again, we are begging for solutions at this point. And I would love to hear from you guys on this one as well, if this touched home for you, because it is a big deal. Again, we cannot keep continuing to gloss over these mass shootings and these mass incidents of violence. So I'll leave that there. But there was also an incident that I read right before we went live today of a father guarding his child, holding his child underneath him, and to protect the child, and ended up getting killed in the process, and the child survived. But then they found out later that the mom also was murdered in this massacre, in this shooting. And it's just wild that we're worrying about TRMX working when we just had 46 people injured, and we had hospitals, and healthcare workers, overworked and underpaid, I'm sure, to kind of make this less of a huge ordeal for us, and helping people in the moment. And we have 7 people dead from this, but it could have been so much more. And so we want to say thank you to all the healthcare workers as well, and all the people in Chicago hospitals and doctors who helped with that, because it could have been so much worse. But I want to hear from you guys about that now in the comments, or later. Let me know if that touched home for you, because even today, I believe there were 3 funerals today for 3 of the victims, and it's, again, just so sad to watch as something like this takes over our country. This country, honestly, throw it away, start over, whatever, factory reset, because, oof. But, yeah, and another thing that I wanted to mention was the incident with Brittany Griner. And so Brittany Griner, if you guys didn't know, Brittany Griner is, let me see where we're at for time. Oh boy. Brittany Griner, and I'll leave it here for Hot Topics. Brittany Griner is a WNBA player from the Phoenix, oh boy, what was that? Oh boy. I forget the team that she played for. Okay, anywhoos, Brittany Griner, unfortunately, has been held in a Russian prison for 141 days on drug charges. And Brittany Griner and her family reached out to the president directly, to President Biden directly, and more specifically, Brittany Griner herself reached out to the president directly of a handwritten letter last week, kind of just pleading her case and saying, and I quote, "I'm terrified. I might be here forever." And I think the thing with this is that we really want to drive home with the Brittany Griner case is not that she's a WNBA star, not that, this is a drug-related charge in a foreign country, in Russia of all places, but we want to drive home the fact that Brittany Griner is a person and a U.S. citizen just like us. And there has been a few other U.S. citizens who have been detained apparently in Russian facilities because of minor charges. And so when the Russians detained Brittany Griner, I believe that they didn't know who Brittany Griner was. They did not know that Brittany Griner had a following. They did not know that she was a WNBA player. And what they continued to treat Brittany Griner as if she were an American citizen with drugs. And from what I understand, the drugs that were found, apparently Brittany said that she was unaware at first of how much or what was in her luggage or what was found being drugs, but it was marijuana related, which varies based off of where you are. But she's saying, that she was frightened for her life, frightened that she would be stuck there forever, and frightened of her human rights being not recognized again. And that is something that we are becoming so desensitized to, if you ask me. And it's crazy that that's something that we've desensitized to. So I love to see that there is so much following behind this, that we are actually following this case, and that this is something that we can make a difference with if we just speak loud enough, and if our actions follow our speaking. And even today, right before the show, I saw that there was a news conference with Reverend Al Sharpton and Brittany Griner's wife. And so that's also really, really amazing to see that they are drawing the public eye, that they're making this a public thing, and that we can make a huge difference here. We can maybe change the outcome of how this goes, because there is no way that for these items, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, again, let me know in the comments, it is a developing story. There's no way that someone should be held for that long for having marijuana related paraphernalia or oils or something along those lines that I believe it was, and I can't quite remember. But justice for Brittany Griner, and it's not something light. Again, I think the point in this story that we need to bring home is that she is just like us. This could be easily one of us if we went away somehow and ended up in Russia and had a small amount of marijuana in your bag or something along those lines. It could have easily been one of us. That's what I'm taking from this story. That's what I want to bring home to you all. And so we have to kind of stand up for this and set a precedence for these kinds of things. And not only that, for the people who are also being detained, who are also U.S. citizens, and who are also struggling with their human rights being taken away from them in these incidents. So I've sat on my soapbox for quite some time. So I'm going to leave it there, but we have to stand up for things like this. And if I had one critique for the news conference that I saw earlier, was that a lot of the people speaking were saying justice for BG, and I understand that that's the hashtag, the movement that they're starting. But I want to hear them say their names. I want to hear them say Brittany Griner as much as possible. I want to hear them say all the other American citizens who have been detained in Russian facilities. I want to hear the names. Say the names. Hold them accountable. Say it as many times as possible. Write it down. Hopefully we can get it on the teleprompter. We can get it across the screen. Say their names. I am, again, following this developing story. Say their names. I'm going to say justice for Brittany Griner. And I understand the movement is justice for BG, and we are BG, but I want to see their names. I want to see their full names. That's one of the ways we're going to get their attention, in listing their names, because if this were someone else who were deemed more valuable or more important, we would see their names. We would absolutely see their names continuously. So, with that, that's our hot topics for today. I'm going to leave it there. We got a few more minutes. I promise I'll give you back your Friday. And also, again, feel free to join me this Friday night at Dark Lady with Alicia Black to co-host Drag Race viewing party and all that. But today we're going to talk about technology. And the first thing I want to say about technology is the balance of power is shifting within the tech industry. If you didn't know that, now you know. The balance of power is shifting. And what they're calling the tech boom has ended. It has long but ended. Star Possum is commenting saying, I feel the media has fully suppressed the shooting of Jalen Walker, at least online. You know what, Star? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. That is something that has not received as much media attention that really, really should, to be honest. And it's, again, sickening that that's something that they can just skip over with and think that we won't notice. That's how that goes, unfortunately. That's what we've been dealt. That's what we deal with. That's what they expect us to deal with and just to accept. But again, that is a whole nother episode that we can get into. Listen, we could talk about that for a while. But again, the tech boom, as they were calling the high point of the tech industry and the tech takeover, has slowly begun to end and is in fact ending. The tech world isn't as glamorous as we had previously portrayed it to be in the U.S. Or around the world even. You've seen the movies, you've seen the people who work in tech, you've seen the portrayal of it all, the high paying jobs, these high secret security jobs in technology, the stipends and the inventions and the making it big and kind of, those things kind of are beginning to end. The tech boom, as they're called it, is beginning to end, and we've seen that in so many different ways. One of the few reasons that is the lovely cocktail mix of inflation, of course, the rising interest rates in the tech industry, of course, and the rising price of raw material for things, obviously has increased as well due to inflation. The fear of a recession. So a lot of tech companies and a lot of things in technology are kind of like holding back. And the war with Russia and Ukraine. It really has played a role in the economy in more ways than we see. And in the tech world, that is something that I feel that they thought should maybe bring them to a scale back. And unfortunately, what that really means is that what we're focusing on is the arms race as opposed to the technology race. And some may say those two coincide well. However, it's a very dangerous cocktail, especially, again, with the recession fear, with the rising interest rates and inflation and things along those lines. Technology is going to be the first industry to suffer from, well, not the first, but one of the biggest ones to suffer from those things. In my studies, I noticed that Netflix, a few different places, a few different large platforms, Netflix, Coinbase, Uber, Lyft, Twitter, and even Apple. Even Apple, y'all. For all y'all Apple lovers out there, for all y'all iPhone users, which is not me, as you know if you know me, they've all announced pausing their hiring process, stating that they had a boom in hiring and they kind of, went, and rolled until the wheels ran off with the hiring process and with funding and things like that. And now they're all announcing a pause in that, even a full-on major layoffs for most of those companies as well, being announced left and right. So be careful with that. If you work for those companies, unfortunately, we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers. Be weary, but also be hopeful. But yeah, major layoffs being announced for Apple, Twitter, Netflix, Coinbase, Uber, Lyft, and I'm sure other companies will follow suit. The technology industry is a building block, a triangle building block, if you can stand that visual with me. And once you start pulling away at some of those parts, eventually it all kind of follows suit. And we haven't seen, if you ask me, and I'll let you guys sound off about this as well in the comments if you'd like, we haven't seen a lot of groundbreaking or super supportive technology being exposed in the past few years. And that's kind of a notation of the tech boom ending as well. Knowing that we haven't seen any kind of new innovative technology, even with certain things like iPhone, while we're talking about Apple still, since Steve Jobs passed away, it's kind of been tit for tat, kind of the same thing and a different version of the same thing. And I don't feel like I've seen a lot of growth in that technology since he's passed away. There were a lot, back to back, a lot of different updates and technology being thrown at us and new things happening with Apple and iPhone. And, you know, I feel that took a huge like fall once he passed away. And maybe that was on purpose. Maybe there is something waiting in the wings. But, you know, that kind of speaks to the relevance of him as well in the company. Sean Thomas, thanks for watching. It says, I love you, Taylor, and miss you. I love you, too. You'll see me tonight. I'll be at at Alley Cat, so Dark Lady hosting. So, yeah, you'll see me, Sean. But there hasn't been a lot of newer things happening with that company, and that's something that I noticed, like I said, right after Steve Jobs passed away. And before we get time gets away from us, before I get into that too much, I want to bring up 6 of the biggest emerging technology in the last 10 years, in the last decade, because it's really kind of plays a role in our everyday lives. Eventually, most things do in the tech world, and that's the idea behind new technology, is to kind of better our everyday lives, but also to be innovative and to create new ways to do old things, if you ask me. That is the purpose of technology. So, 6 of the biggest emerging technology in the last 10 years. I'm going to start with the electric aviation, since we talked about the giant flying luxury hotel earlier. If you missed that, flipping and reverse it, rewatch, you guys catching it on the rewatch. I hope you paid attention to that a little bit. But the electric aviation field is boasting a zero carbon emission electric airplane or electric aircraft. Sorry. And so in 2023, they're saying that we should see smaller versions of the electric aircrafts being certified and being used. But there's also 2 models that you can get from these electric aviation. There is fully electric and hybrid models that they're coming up with for these electric aviations, which I think is amazing. It's kind of like setting a standard. These planes kind of taking off like a helicopter. If you think about the way helicopters take off, with the blades swirling above it, and then it flies like a regular plane. But they are, again, the fully electric models and then the hybrid models. And I think that as far as emissions go and carbon emissions go, with the zero carbon emissions, we can affect at least 2% of pollution globally with changing flights to electric or to even hybrid. And 2% may not seem like a lot, but it's growth in a department that we have kind of like brushed aside, so to speak, with all the other things that are going on. But climate change, and gas emissions and things like that, fossil fuels, and kind of just a lot of climate injustice, if you will, has been going on, and we kind of don't bat an eyelid at it anymore, because it's most of the services and things that we use that better our lives that are killing the environment. So I'm really looking forward to electric aviation being used. Again, 2023, looking forward to seeing some of these models being utilized. 2, artificial intelligence, AI, if you will, is defined as a machine learning around natural language. And I talked about this on Tea with Taylor a few seasons ago. Artificial intelligence, it's wild. It's absolutely wild how crazy it is, how it's taking over. A lot of humanoid robots, even a lot of task robots, if you will, being produced and being the technology being like really top tier. Even saying that in the future we're going to be able to have conversational humanoids, sex bots and things like that that are being produced and with very, very scary high amount of intelligence and learning ability. A little bit scary, but again, congratulations, and really looking at the technology aspect of it is really a huge step forward. Kind of like the things we see in a lot of science fiction movies. So there's that, and I'm not going to go too much into the artificial intelligence, because if you want to, learn a little bit about that, go back to my old episode, artificial intelligence. It could use a few more views, whatever, sure, why not? But number 4, self-healing material. And yes, you heard that from me. Number 4 is self-healing material. It is, and I want to quote this. I want to give you guys this quote first. Self-healing materials. What Professor Abir Al-Taba, environmental engineer, said, roads will not only be able to fix themselves, but also communicate with robots to help reinforce those roads. That took me out. Not, for one, in Rhode Island and New England, we could use that a lot. The roads reinforcing themselves and being able to communicate with robots, because our roads are awful and they need an overhaul quicker than we can do with our human bodies and our human workers. But yeah, the self-healing material is the star of the show here, and that is actually being considered. It's a biometric material that mimics nature and adapts to the material that it surrounds. Reduces cement's carbon footprint, which is our main form of doing roads and preparing roads. It reduces cement's carbon footprint and the lifespan of cement as well, which is a really good thing because we have low waste, we have low carbon emissions. I don't know if you've ever smelled when fresh cement is putting down, but that it's like almost like burning gas and stone, and it's not a good smell. It's almost nauseating. I don't know. So hopefully with this technology being utilized at some point, we can reduce that, if nothing else, the smell. But self-healing material would help reduce that, and low waste, low carbon emissions, and I think that it would be a game changer, huge, and also communicating with AI robots or that technology to help repair these things would mean much quicker repairs, which is something we really need. Oh my gosh, Calypso Phoenix Brown's commenting saying Sophie. Yes, Sophie's wild. Sophie is one of the AI robots that is actually one of the smartest AI robots that actually, I think, just out-argued a person, if I'm correct. Calypso, let me know. It out-argued a person or outplayed a person in a game or something along those lines that was a huge marker to the intelligence and the technology being developed with artificial intelligence and their ability to learn. Sophie was frightening. Sophie looks like a person. It's frightening. I'm glad to hear that somebody else was like keeping up with that, and somebody else was actually intrigued by that. It was frightening, but also again intriguing. But yeah, so number 4 was self-healing materials. Number 5, and I still don't trust number 5. And I'm not talking about the Umbrella Academy, but number 5 is body adaptable or wearable electronics. That in the last 10 years, this technology has skyrocketed. Since 2014, it's kind of been making a huge splash and has infiltrated our everyday lives in such a big way. But wearable electronics or body adaptable electronics has accelerated the quality of these kinds of technology as well in such a short period of time. We have things like smartwatches that are like that run a real hold over y'all. These smartwatches, goodness gracious, like I wow. And health trackers, which are really good, bringing health care into everyone's everyday life and not making it such a taboo subject. And even I read about this underwear that is wearable, of course, that monitors your heart rate and is able to alert your doctor if there is a possibility or if there is a heart attack happening. Which, whoa, that's crazy, and I'm living for that. That's amazing technology. Again, bringing healthcare into our everyday lives and kind of being kind of taking the place of a first responder. Not taking a place, but kind of helping the job of a first responder, being able to catch a heart attack or heart problems that soon. I think that this technology will be revolutionary to that field, to the medical field. But a big, huge jump in this technology was due to the fact of being able to produce flexible material with a diverse use as well. Producing that flexible material, that wearable material, that waterproof material that we kind of all have and now and don't really pay much attention to was a huge step in mass producing and the acceleration of wearable electronics. So we have to acknowledge that as well. The material, just alone, being such a big deal because we previously were unable to do things with electronics because of the limitations of it being an electronic. Again, I still don't trust most of them. You kind of have to have a huge trust factor to have something monitoring your body and not knowing how much it's monitoring is the scary part. But, again, with the acceleration in technology, I guess you kind of have to, bring your trust level to a little bit of a higher standpoint because it is monitoring everything. Just like the listening devices and our music devices and our speakers. It's not stopping at the monitoring of the things that are beneficial to you. It's monitoring everything. So, and you give them permissions to monitor everything without knowing because you cannot use the devices without giving them permission to monitor all these things. So, I'm going to go ahead and just not. I don't even have a watch or anything of that nature. So, I'm going to keep it there. At least for now. I don't know. If I get a smartwatch in the future, don't judge me. But, we're going to keep it there. The underwear idea, that's a really good idea. But again, how much is that monitoring? How much trust am I putting in this operating system that's monitoring my body? Who knows? But lastly, and I'll give you back your Friday because I'm going to get ready and get all done up and cute for Dark Lady, and I spoke about revolutionizing technology, is the genomic vaccines that have come our way this past 3 years. And genomic vaccines are simply vaccines made from DNA or RNA. And with that definition, I'm sure you don't know where I'm going with this, but in 2017, we had a revolutionary breakthrough in vaccine technology with the production of Pfizer and BioNTech, and Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson creating the mRNA COVID vaccines, changed the game 100% when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to vaccination, when it comes to fighting the fight with COVID virus that we've all been dealing with. It was, again, revolutionary. The amount of time that it took for them to come up with this, for them to kind of be able to help us have another defense against, was insane. The amount of time, because it has never been done before. It has never been done this quickly, which again, you kind of have to put your trust in a lot of different people and a lot of different organizations, a lot of different things when you're thinking about these vaccinations, and it caused quite the stir within our economy, within our, dividing us between those people who feel that immunization and vaccination is kind of dated, and the people who believe that it's the only way of fighting the good fight. And it kind of divided us down that line. Even to this day, I feel like that division still exists. And people will fight for their right to not be vaccinated, will fight for their right to be vaccinated. It kind of exposed a lot of different viewpoints, I think, within the medical field that weren't previously acknowledged, to be honest. And so, hats off to the people who had played a role in coming up with these genomic vaccines that changed the game as far as fighting this virus. We are made huge, huge steps in, vaccination and this fight with COVID, and even for the better, we are able to reinstate life. We outside, as Beyonce said, because of these vaccines, we can be a little bit safer and feel a little bit safer. Kudos to those companies and to those people who have played a role in such a huge role in the fight with COVID. With that being said, and I hate to rush you all, and I hate to leave you, but, keep up with your boy. I'm going to leave it there today with the technology talk. We have so much more to talk about next week. I will gladly be here next Friday to dish, give you the hot tea while it's still hot, catch up on some of these developing stories that we talked about today, because there's been a lot of developing stories, unfortunately and fortunately. But catch up on those, and kind of just, catch up with all y'all, because y'all are special to me. But I'm going to leave it there and go get ready. Hopefully you guys join me at Dark Lady tonight for the RuPaul's Drag Race viewing party with Alicia Black. Continue to be good to yourselves, y'all. Thank you so much for viewing. Thank you so much for keeping up. I love you, and keep on loving yourself. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.